Assalamualaikum and hello everyone. Welcome to the video for chapter 11 Amine examples. Okay, in this video, what we're going to do is to discuss the solution for the examples itself. Okay, so the examples itself is mostly I took it from the past year questions lah. Okay, so let's look for the example straight away. Okay, so for the first question, okay. So here it mentioned that to name and classify the following amines according to the IUPAC nomenclature. Okay, so for the case of amine, first and foremost, what you have to do is you have to determine whether it's primary, secondary or tertiary amine. Okay, so it's very different. Kalau contohnya haloalkin kan, haloalkin contohnya CCl. Okay, maknanya this is CH3, sini hydrogen. Okay, contohnya for the case of haloalkin ataupun alcohol, kita akan tengok the carbon that attached to the carbon that contain the functional group ni. This carbon yang kita kena tengok berapa banyak carbon dia ada to determine whether the primary, secondary or tertiary. But for the case of amine, yang ni dia straightforward, tengok N tu attached to how many carbon. Okay, so kalau primary amine, your N tu attached to only one carbon. If it is a secondary amine, it will attach to 2 carbon. As for tertiary amine, it will attach to 1 to 3 carbon. Okay, where usually when we're talking about carbon, selalu misalkan carbon mesti ada 4 bond. Tapi for the nitrogen itself, dia memang prefer to have 3 bonds lah. So sini dia ada 1 lone pair. So sebenarnya nitrogen ni still a chief octet, still lagi 8 electron, but it prefer to have 3 single bond and 1 lone pair. Okay, sebab nanti we'll get the formal charge is equal to 0 lah. Okay, so without further ado, let's look for the question itself. So number 1 is to name and classify the amine. Okay, so first question ni kita tengok N dia yang mana. So here lah, NH2 ni. Okay, so N ni attached to only 1 carbon. So dia adalah primary amine. So this is the primary amine. Okay, so how about the naming itself? Okay, so first thing first, kita tengok what is the longest carbon chain. So bila tengok sini, kita ada 1, 2, 3, 4. So the parent name will be butanamine. But then our NH2 attached to carbon number 2. So we have to write down 2 butanamine. Okay, so ini kita dah write down dah. But how about this methyl here? Okay, so we know that this is in carbon number 2 kan. Okay, and then carbon number 2 ni we have our methyl. So 2 methyl, 2 butanamine. Okay, so that's for the first one. The second one, okay. So, okay, kalau aromatic amine, okay, originally, dia macam ni lah. Start pada sini, NH2. NH2 is what we call aniline. This is example of our primary amine. Okay, so when N is directly attached to our benzene ring, the parent name will be aniline. Okay, the same goes here. N is directly attached to benzene. So that's why lah nama parent dia adalah aniline. But then again, if you only write down nama dia adalah aniline, maka dia adalah NH2. But this is not kan? On the same nitrogen, we have 1, 2 carbon kan? So dia adalah ethyl. But then how to write it down? We have to write down N-ethyl aniline. Okay, and then when we look on our nitrogen here, the nitrogen ni attached to 1, 2 carbon. So it is a secondary amine. Okay, so that's for the example B. Okay, example C. Okay, so ini pun sama juga. Our nitrogen here, okay, directly attached to our benzene ring. So the parent name will be aniline. But then on the nitrogen, we have 2 substituent. This is what we call when we have only 1 carbon, dia adalah methyl. Kalau dia ada 2 carbon, dia adalah ethyl. Okay, so for the naming itself, first kena ikut alphabet. So E is before M. So dia akan jadi terbalik pula. N-ethyl, N-methyl. So N-ethyl, N-methyl dekat sini. N-ethyl, N-methyl aniline. Okay, so for the classification, this nitrogen attached to 1, 2, 3. 3 carbon. So, this is our tertiary amine. Okay, usually, kalau primary amine, dia punya naming ni tak ada N kat depan. Secondary amine, we only have 1 N. Tertiary amine, we have 2 N. Okay, so That is the naming the naming question. Okay, next question is ni soalan past ya. So here it mentioned that amine can be classified into primary, secondary and tertiary amine. By using amine with molecular formula C4H11N, draw the structural formula of primary, secondary and tertiary amine. Okay, so kali ni dia lain dia bagi dekat kita C4H11N. So we have to draw the structure. Okay, again remember primary amine NH2 tu must be attached to only one carbon. So dekat sini yang ini terus draw NH2 ni directly attached to carbon. Okay, tapi kalau kita lukis yang ini je baru ada satu carbon kan. Dia adalah C4. So we're gonna take 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and then make sure each carbon must have 4 bond. Okay, it will be attached to hydrogen. So when we count here 1, 2, 3, 4, C4, H kita jadi 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, H11N. Okay, so this is example of our primary amine. Ataupun nama dia, the IUPAC nomenclature will be butanamine. So this is the expanded version. This is the skeletal version lah. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, this is actually one of the example. Sebenarnya dia boleh jadi isomer lain juga kan. Apa ni? This is 1 butanamine. Actually we can also draw it is accepted if you want to draw it as 2 butanamine pun boleh juga. So still your carbon will be 4. Your nitrogen is 1. Still dekat sini. Sini akan 3, 2, so 5. Sini lagi 3, 3, 5, 8, 9, 10. Sini H11. So ini pun masih lagi C4H11N. This is the example of positional isomer lah. The different in position of our functional group. Or kat sini kamu dah buat longest carbon chain 4 kan. 1, 2, 3, 4. Tapi kat sini what I did is actually yang beza dia adalah carbon chain. Here the longest carbon chain is 1, 2, 3. So kat sini ada 4 kita. So ini pun diterima juga. Again, asalkan dia adalah primary amine where nitrogen must be bonded to only one carbon. Okay, so this is my primary amine. Next is my secondary amine. Secondary amine, it must be attached to 2 carbon. So dekat sini, my nitrogen ni, body guard dia 1, 2 of my carbon. Tapi, again, nitrogen must have 3 bonds. So, kalau dua bond tu adalah carbon, lagi satu adalah hydrogen kita lah. Okay, tadi kita nak C4 kan? So, ni baru 1, 2. Okay, this example where I draw yang ni lah. 1, 2, 3. Dekat my left hand side, I have 3 carbon. My right hand side, only 1. Okay. But then, it is accepted kalau kamu nak buat sini 2 carbon. Sini pun 2 pun tak apa. Sebab sama juga C4H11. But this is one of the examples here where this is the skeletal structure. Okay, when we name it, dia akan jadi N-methyl-propanamine. Sebab sini ada 3 kan? So that is the parent name. This one, on this end, we have our methyl. Okay, if you want to draw it in terms of this one, nama dia sebenarnya dia akan jadi N-ethyl-ethanamine. Okay, the question does not ask for any naming, tapi kita sengaja je lah nak tulis naming dia. Okay, so ni baru primary, secondary. Okay, tertiary amine is where the nitrogen bonded to 1, 2, 3 carbon. Tertiary amine ni memang no hydrogen attached lah. No hydrogen attached to it. Sebab dah memang maximum 3 bond. Okay, so this nitrogen bonded to 1, 2, 3. But from our structure dia nak C4H11 kan. So boleh tulis carbon kat belah sini boleh. Kat belah kanan boleh. Bawah ni pun boleh juga. But what I draw here is actually on my left hand side lah. Okay. So this is the tertiary amine. Okay, so the structure will be NN. This is the expanded structure. This is the skeletal structure. Okay. And then this is when we name it, the longest carbon chain dia kat sini kan 1, 2. So the ethanamine. On the same carbon we have 1, 2. NN dimethyl. Okay, yang ini disengaja je uji kamu based upon the molecular structure, molecular formula you have to draw. Okay, next, they ask you to arrange the following amine in order of increasing boiling point. Explain your answer. So, when we're talking about increasing boiling point, we have to compare in terms of intermolecular forces lah. IMF kita. Which is, untuk case amine ni, kita akan nampak hydrogen bond dengan kita punya van der Waals forces. Okay. So, when we look back on our notes, okay, for the case of boiling point ni, okay, amine is a polar molecule and can form hydrogen bond. Okay, the question where dia minta compare primary, secondary, tertiary kan? Okay, so for our primary amine, okay, primary amine, because of our Ne, it is attached to hydrogen. So, it will form hydrogen bond. Hydrogen bond, we have FH, OH dengan NH lah. Okay, dalam kes kita punya primary amine ni, kita ada NH, H kita ada dua lagi tu. Okay, so we do form hydrogen bond. Okay, the same goes for the secondary amine. Secondary amine ni, sebenarnya dia ada NH. Walaupun ada satu sahaja, but remember, memang ada lah kan NH ni. Okay, so tak ada masalah. So, maknanya primary amine dengan secondary amine akan form hydrogen bond. Tapi, when we compare it between these two, okay, because hydrogen kat sini ada dua kan, so it will form more hydrogen bond. Okay, tapi because of my secondary amine dekat sini, only have one hydrogen. Okay, so they will form less hydrogen bond than primary amine. Okay, but then our tertiary amine ni, on our nitrogen ni, does not have any hydrogen bonded to it. Sebab this nitrogen bonded to 1, 2, 3 carbon kan. So, there's no hydrogen bond lah. Because remember, hydrogen bond mesti yang ada NH tu. Okay, so what is the force present? The intermolecular force present is actually our van der Waals forces sahaja. Okay, and then the hydrogen bond is actually stronger than our van der Waals. Order of increasing boiling point for amine, it will be tertiary amine is the weakest one sebab hanya van der Waals sahaja. Okay, followed by secondary amine. Okay, secondary amine is strong juga because it has hydrogen bond tapi dia boleh form fewer than the primary amine. Primary amine ni boleh form lagi banyak lagi. So that's why it is the strongest one. Okay, so how about the explanation? Okay, for the question itself tadi, okay, dia minta arrange the following amine in order of increasing boiling point. Okay, ikutlah kamu nak base upon naming yang kamu dah buat ataupun just in order buat yang primary, secondary, tertiary. Okay, so what is the solution? Okay, so the solution dia here lah. So dia nak minta in order of increasing boiling point, so it must be from our strongest to increasing boiling point. So it means from our weakest to our strongest intermolecular force. Okay, so first from the explanation here, I'm comparing the primary dengan secondary. Okay, primary amine has the highest boiling point because it can form more hydrogen bond compared to secondary amine. Okay, so the first one I'll compare this one dengan this one lah. Okay, and then I've mentioned juga the weakest one is the tertiary kan. Okay, the tertiary amine only has van der Waals forces ataupun specific lagi dipole-dipole force as the structure itself is polar molecule. Okay, and then kenapa lagi? So why primary amine is stronger than secondary and primary is stronger than the tertiary? Because we have to mention lah, secondary primary ni kan ada hydrogen bond and the hydrogen bond is stronger than the van der Waals force. Okay, so that is the explanation. Okay, so that's for question number 2. Okay, now let's look for question number 3. Okay, question number 3. Okay, here it mentioned that the reaction scheme below shows the formation of a dye DD from benzene. Okay, so yang ini kita kena tahu lah the structure dia. Okay, so this is a reaction scheme. So dia minta kat kita give the reagent AA and CC, AA dengan CC, and draw the structural formula of BB and DD. BB ni yang ini, DD ni yang ini. Okay, name the reaction for the formation of DD. Okay, so this is a reaction scheme where it started from our benzene. Okay, so bila dia start pada benzene, okay, tiba kat sini benzene ni ada NO2. So when a benzene that we have NO2, the name is actually nitrobenzene. Okay. Where previously kita selalu nampak benzene ring, then we have our NH2 is our aniline. Tapi when NO2 dia adalah nitrobenzene. Okay, so again this is actually our benzene. Jadi NO2. So what is the reagent? Ni back to revision balik chapter 6 kita. So from our benzene ring, nak form nitrobenzene, there's three reagent ataupun there's three condition that we have to write down. First is concentrated HNO3, concentrated H2SO4, HNO3, concentrated H2SO4, and we have to be specific about the temperature lah. Okay, so dekat sini tadi, go back to the question. Okay, so maknanya AA ni, it must be concentrated HNO3, concentrated H2SO4, and then the temperature is 50 to 55 degrees Celsius. Okay, so that's the first one. Okay, so from our nitrobenzene, kita reaction dengan zinc H+. Zinc H+ ni is a reducing agent. Okay, so kita tengok balik pada nota chapter Amine kita itself. So we have our nitrobenzene kan. Okay, ni reagent zinc H+. So what happened is that from our NO2 dia terus jadi NH2. Okay, so how does it work sebenarnya? Our reducing agent ni dia akan reducing agent kita, it will remove oxygen and add 2 hydrogen. Okay, so dia akan remove yang oksigen dekat sini. Okay, dia akan gantikan dengan hydrogen. So, akan form kita punya aniline. Okay, so this is our BB lah. Okay, so from our aniline, we will form N2Cl. So, N2Cl ni is actually this structure. Okay, this is the structure lah N2Cl sebenarnya. Okay, so dia nak tahu what is the reagent. What is the reagent from BB ni to this N2Cl. So yang ini bila kita tengok the reaction of amine tak banyak lah kita belajar sebenarnya. Okay, so yang ni adalah preparation. Okay, for the reaction itself. Okay, kalau for our Hinsberg test, there's none of our N2Cl. Sebab kita kat sini memang tidak ada lah. Tapi bila kita tengok dekat sini, especially tadi adalah aromatic amine kan. Okay, so kita tengok mana satu ada N2Cl. This is our tertiary amine, there's no N2Cl tu tak ada. Sini ni ada N2O adalah. This one we have N2Cl. So from here N2Cl ni, what is the reagent? Reagent dia ni lah. Nano 2HCl 025 degrees Celsius. So for the reagent ni, to know the reagent we have to mention all of this. Kena mention tiga-tiga ni, baru dapat satu markah. So here just gonna write down CC kita nano 2HCl 025 degrees Celsius. Okay, so tu baru CC. Okay, last is DD, the structure of DD. So what is C6H5OH? Okay, just to mention to you guys, okay, kalau kamu nampak C6H6 ni, okay, dia actually originally from our benzene ring lah. It is actually C6H6 originally from our benzene ring. Tapi bila C6H6 adalah benzene ring, sekarang ni dia adalah C6H5OH. So what does it mean here adalah we gonna substitute one of our hydrogen ni dengan OH. Okay, so example, we're gonna substitute this one dengan OH. So this is actually our phenol. So yang ni C6H5OH ni is actually our phenol. Okay. So what is the reaction from our benzene diazonium salt ni dengan phenol? Okay, this is actually our formation of dye. Formation of dye tu this one. formation of dye, where iron diazonium salt will undergo coupling with strong EDG at para position to form azo compound. So from here, kita nak buat, okay, our N ni, okay, dia akan couple pada para position. Kan ni OH kita kan? This is carbon number 1, 2, 3, 4. So, dia akan couple pada carbon number 4 kita. Okay. And then kita akan form lah structure kita itself. Okay. So, sebenarnya dekat sini, apa yang akan jadi? So, from here, this is carbon number 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Carbon number 4 directly attached to N. N sebab yang kat sini lah. This nitrogen. And then we have triple bond attached to another N and attached to our benzene ring. Okay. So this question dia macam a bit tricky sebab macam campur banyak-banyak sikit reaction of our amine. Okay. So next one is name the reaction for the formation of DD. Formation of DD ni, formation of our dye ni. Okay, so what is the name of the reaction? Kita tengok tadi. Okay, ni. Formation of dye ni undergo coupling reaction. Okay, so jawapan dia untuk ni adalah question untuk B. The name of the reaction is coupling reaction. So dia adalah coupling bukan couple, dia coupling reaction. Okay, so that is for question number 3. Okay, last one, question number 4. Kata dekat sini, an amine has 3 isomer EFG. Okay, so draw the structural formula of EFG. Okay, again, dia sama juga macam the previous question yang C4H11N tu kan. Ni tapi dia bagi C3H9N. It means that we have one less carbon. Okay, dia minta draw the structural formula, but then dia kat sini dia ada bagi tahu kan, suggest a chemical test to distinguish E, F and G. So it means that E, F and G ni will have 3 different classes lah. Okay, so tak kisahlah mana satu E, mana satu F, mana satu G. Okay, tapi again, we have to draw in terms of primary, secondary, tertiary amine. Okay, so first adalah primary amine, N ni must attach to only one carbon. So N ni attached to only one carbon. Okay, but then sebab C3 kan. So when it is C3, so I want to label it to sini, 1, 2, 3 carbon. So this is my primary amine where the name is propanamine. Or if you want to draw it in terms of skeletal, like I do 1, 2, 3. Okay, carbon number 3 ni we have NH2. Okay, so this is our propanamine. Okay, so this is the primary one. The secondary one, the nitrogen ni must be bonded to 2 carbon. Okay. Kalau amine kita ni ada bonded to 2 carbon, maknanya dia attached to 1 hydrogen lah. Kan, nitrogen mesti ada 3 bond. So kalau ada 2 bond carbon, maknanya 1 bond hydrogen lah. Yang ini kan, from our primary amine ni pula. Okay, sebab N ni attach pada carbon, tapi nitrogen mesti ada 3 bond kan. So sebab itulah NH2. Sini. Okay. So secondary amine ni, N ni attach tu pada 2 carbon. Tapi total the carbon must be 3 kan. So carbon, the third carbon, this one I draw in my left hand side. It is fine if you draw it in the right hand side pun boleh juga. Okay, so for this structure, the naming is N-methyl ethanamine. Ethanamine is the parent name because it has a longer carbon chain. N-methyl. Okay, so dia akan jadi 1. Okay, carbon number 1, 2. Lepas tu dia attach pada N. Lepas tu ada 1. Okay, so maknanya we have 1, 2, 3 carbon. Okay, so this is the skeletal structure. Okay, and last but not least is we have to draw the tertiary amine where nitrogen bonded to 1, 2, 3 carbon. So sini 1, 2, 3 carbon. So if you draw it in terms of skeletal, like jadi N tengah-tengah ni bonded to 1, 2, 3. Nitrogen bonded to 1, 2, 3. Okay, so this is the solution. Okay, next one, dia bagi tahu kita. So, bolehlah draw, then we can answer the next question. B, suggest a chemical test to distinguish E, F, and G. State the observation and write the chemical equation involved. Okay, so from here, we have learned actually 2 of our chemical tests. Adanya Hinsberg test, Hinsberg test and nitrous test. But actually nitrous acid test ni lagi straightforward lagi lah bandingkan dengan kita punya Hinsberg. Hinsberg ni ada banyak step. We have to mention memang kena spesifik lah step 1 ni. Kalau tak ada salah. Okay. So sebab itulah for the solution itself, I prefer to write down the nitrous acid test. Okay, so this one, semua ni adalah kita punya aliphatic amine. Aliphatic tu, it means that our nitrogen ni, dia tak bonded to a benzene ring lah. Aromatic ni, nitrogen bonded to benzene ring. Okay, so we're going to be focusing on this part only. Okay, so bila kita draw untuk the question itself, for primary amine, okay, what will happen is that when we undergo the nitrous acid test, we will form our haloalkane. So it means that we're going to substitute ni dengan Cl, pada our HCl here. Okay, and then we're going to form our alcohol. We will substitute NH2 ni dengan OH. Okay, and then we will form alkene. Okay, so maknanya kalau alkene, NH2 ni dah tak ada lah. Okay, alkene ni, okay, when we form alkene dekat sini, we're going to remove 2 of our hydrogen. So dah akan jadi CH double bond CH. If you be unsure, boleh draw the expanded one. Sebab sini CH3 kan. Kalau contohnya kamu buat double bond macam ni, hydrogen, ada originally CH2 kan. Bila kamu tengok dekat sini, your carbon here ada 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So maknanya tak nak lah CH dekat sini. Kat sini ada 1, 2, 3, 4. Dah cukup dah CH2. Okay, it means that kat sini CH2. Okay, so if you be unsure, yang ni bolehlah buat expanded new version. Okay, and last but not least, untuk primary amine ni, we will form nitrogen gas. So when nitrogen gas ni, gas we have to show upward arrow. Macam mana precipitate, contohnya MnO2, kita buat down arrow kan. Ni N2 ni kita kena buat upwards lah. Okay, how about the observation? Sebenarnya observation, the most straightforward one is actually N2, where the bubble gas produced. Okay, so that is for my primary amine. Kalau secondary amine, what will happen is that from our NH ni, dia akan jadi N2O. So N ni akan attach to another nitrogen. Nitrogen ni will have double bond dengan O. Ataupun nak buat NO sahaja pun boleh. Okay, so what happen is that yellow oil will produce. Okay, for this structure. Remember, kalau kamu tengok sini, N memang ada 3 bond saja. 1, 2, 3. This nitrogen pun ada 1, 2, 3. Oxygen memang prefer to have 2 bonds sebab dia ada 2 lone pair lah dekat sini. Okay, and last but not least is our tertiary amine. Okay, tertiary amine is the most basic amine dalam banyak-banyak. So what will happen is that it will react dengan HCl ni straightforward sahaja. So again, base ni it will accept kita punya hydrogen H plus from our HCl. So sebab itulah N ni dia jadi N plus H. Okay, and then Cl minus pun akan ikut sekali. Okay, so for the observation, it will be clear solution produced. Okay, so kat yang ini, you can answer it Hinsberg test juga. But the Hinsberg test banyak pula equation dia. Dan observation tu pun memang kena step 1 tu memang kena betul. Okay, so senangnya it is more easy for us to do the nitrous acid test. Okay, so that's it for this video.